Tony, looking back at the St Helens game, you've had plenty of time to reflect on it now. What are your thoughts on it?
Don't drag me through that again. Very similar to some of our frustrations of some other games, but I think we added a little bit of bit more self-infliction. I think we tried to push things a little bit more than what we have in other weeks, and it hurt us a little bit as well. And you can't do that against a team like St Helens, who have found some recent form, and they're dangerous. And we set ourselves a little bit too much in that first half and put ourselves under way too much pressure. But on the positive side, we found we got into a bit of a fight in the second half in terms of making it tough for our opponents, and nearly well forged our way back in there. Another try by us when we got to within 12 would have made it interesting, but. It takes a lot of energy out of you when you have the field position that you give over to a team like St Helens early in the game. So we've got to stop doing that and put things right. And hopefully that'll come for Thursday. But I think we're just being a little bit anxious about the way we're playing at the moment and trying a little bit too hard to push things to try and fix it rather than build a game and build some pressure on our opponents. So hopefully we're learning some lessons by it.
It's always difficult playing catch-up rugby, particularly against a team like Saints.
Oh, not wrong. Yeah, and it takes a lot out of you when you defend your own line like we have been for a number of games. We did it the week before against Wigan, and the week before that and the week before that, and it pays a price, and it takes the edge off you on what you can do in attack when you have to defend your own line in the way that we do, and it has an impact, but I'm sure we'll get on top of it, and we'll turn things around in terms of we'll start to inflict some of that on opposition teams, and we've been very good at that in the past. We're just going through that period that is a little bit uncomfortable for ourselves, but we'll put things right. This time last year, we'd actually lost more games than what we have already. We probably weren't firing as best as we could last year at this stage of the year, and we ended up putting things pretty well right after Easter. I think come Easter Monday last year we'd lost 4 games from memory, and and so we were a bit patchy. We'd had a couple of good victories as well, in terms of performances, but we were a bit patchy up until Easter as well.
Do you think the Wigan game the week before took a lot of fuel out of the tank?
Pardon me. Somewhat, yeah, possibly, somewhat. The manner in which we went about it certainly hurt us. It may well, but that's part and parcel for Super League. You've got to be able to back up and turn things around, and that's why not performing well week in, week out, and defending your own area can you can pay a price for it, and that's take the edge off you for the following week, etc. When you're dominating games and play the game that you want to play well, you feel good the following week and your energy levels are much higher. So it's there's certainly a physical effect to some of those games, but also there's a mental effect as well.
Now you've got a third big derby on the bounce coming up against Widnes. First time locking horns with them in a competitive game for a number of seasons now. What are you expecting from Widnes?
I think it's going to be a really passionate game and a lot of enthusiasm from our opponents. They'll be on the rebound from last week on a fairly hefty defeat by the Catalans, and they'll be trying to set some things right. And in the fact that it's a derby game, I think they'll be pretty well up for it as well. I think everywhere any of us go at the moment, we get reminded about the rivalry between the two clubs. So both teams will be out there to do their best for their set of spectators and fans. There'll be a lot of passion early in that game, and hopefully both teams will play well. I hope it's a good game for both teams, and they both find some form and get out there and put on an attractive game. And we're certainly hoping that we can find that form that we would like to be playing at, but we need to just build that game and get into a hard-fought game, hopefully.
And do you think Warrington have possibly drawn the short straw in the fixtures with having to go to Catalans at the back end of the bank holiday weekend? I know your views on these games in quick succession.
It's
not the place you'd want to go, really, is it?
It's not ideal, but you know, it is what it is, and so we get on with it and roll our sleeves up for. They're a good team. Hopefully, it'll be a good game. We've had some good games with them in the last couple of outings. They're well coached and they're in good form at the moment. So yeah, tough fixture, but hopefully we'll be in good shape. We're trying not to play all our players twice over the weekend. We're trying to look after them and trying to keep some fresh for Monday, as well as having some fresh players in for Thursday. So yeah, we're hoping that managing the players will help us in the longer term, not just for these two games, but in the long term as well. Quite often when you play these games in quick succession, you might actually get through them and with all the same players, but you end up picking up injuries for the weeks afterwards, and we're trying to avoid that as best possible.
And you've mentioned the health of the players. What is the fitness like at moments and your injury concerns?
Yeah, not too bad. We're pretty good at the moment. Harrison's not too far off. He may even play in the 20s this weekend coming up. So he's back, getting close to full fitness. So that's a real positive for us, and that'll leave our long-termers in terms of Solomona and Stefan Ratchford still. Rhys Evans has been given the all clear to resume full training. He had a bit of a scare with his fracture in the bone in his foot, so he's right to go again. And a couple of bumps and bruises from games last weekend. That's about it. We've got the exciting bit for me is Ben Curry playing this weekend. He'll play his first grade game on Thursday for the club, and bright future for that young man. He's been playing exceptionally well for the under-20s and deserves a chance. And it's time for some of these young guys who have been coming through the ranks to get their chance, and had the good job of letting a young man know that he's playing his first game of first grade on Thursday.
So for supporters who don't know much about him, what can you tell us about Ben?
He's a big, strapping young lad who's full of enthusiasm and can run all day, and he's wholehearted, and he's a big kid. I think he stands at 6'3", 6'4", and runs all day really. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. He's a terrific young player. He's a nice young man to coach, and very ambitious, and I'm sure he's got a long future and a healthy future at Warrington, but without putting too much pressure on the kid, I think he can go beyond that as well, and maybe possibly if he keeps things on track, go on to represent his country. So he's got a lot of potential. I've got a lot of time for Ben, and I think he's ready for his first game.
Okay, Tony, as always, thank you for your time and good luck over the weekend.
My pleasure.